for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest, one of our advocacy and military leadership for business girls, no other than Dr. Mary Kelly.
Hey, Daniel, it's so great to be with your folks today. This is going to be an exciting episode.
Definitely. Welcome on Book 101. Dr. Mary, and can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
I'm so excited that I got to spend 25 years on active duty in the United States Navy. I was mostly in Asia for 17 years of that time. And I was able to learn from some of the best military and civilian leaders we had. When I retired out of the Navy, I started a company that does leadership and economic development. The company is called Productive Leaders, because why would you want an unproductive leader? I
Definitely.
get to live here in Nashville, Tennessee right now. I've bounced around the United States a little bit and settled on here, and this is where I work and live.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Dr. Maria, thank you. And today let's talk about strategic planning and competitive advantage. When we talk about competitive advantage, it can sound abstract. For you, what are the tangible, almost physical signs that a company truly has won? And what does it feel like to compete against such a company?
So, competitive advantage is when you do things absolutely better than other people. So, for example, let's say you install computers. Can you do that better than, say, Bill Gates? Well, probably not. He has the best competitive advantage in the world, but you have a comparative advantage, meaning you can do it at a lower cost. So, competitive means you do it absolutely better. Comparative means you can do it at a lower cost. And sometimes people confuse the two. And then sometimes people get hung up on the things that make them competitively better. They say, I can't compete on price. What do I do? Well, then you have to be better in other areas, such as customer service, such as responsiveness, such as better listening if you're, say, a financial advisor. You can always be better than someone else in some part of your company.
Certainly. Many strategies fail because of flawed assumptions about the competitive landscapes. What's one common misconception leaders have about their competition today that you find almost dangerous or limiting?
Many leaders today look at their competition and they feel, it doesn't mean it's true, they feel like their competition is doing things better than they are. Maybe their competition just has a better marketing plan. Maybe they've got better visibility. Maybe they've got more proactive sales teams. Maybe. So it's helpful to look at your competition and be very clear on what it is you do better and where you can increase your presence. So, of course, everybody is familiar with the SWOT analysis. SWOT: strengths,
Yes.
weaknesses, opportunities, training. We talk about it a lot. So look very honestly at where is your organization really strong. That is your competitive advantage. Can you make that even better? Where are you weak? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to bring your company up to your competitors' level in other areas, unless it is really costing you market share. You can't be great necessarily in every single aspect. So, my very gentle advice to my leaders is be great in the areas where you know you can compete and win. And then don't worry about some of those other weaknesses if they're not that important. And that's part of seeing the O in the SWOT, the opportunities. Look around and figure out where your best opportunities are. Sometimes we tell business owners so much, dream big, reach high, really go for the stars, that sometimes they miss some of that low hanging fruit. Sometimes they miss the opportunities that are right in front of them simply because they think, oh, that must be too easy. Maybe it's not worth getting that business. Opportunities sometimes surprise you with how they show up. And then In the SWOT analysis, look at the time element. And I like to think of that. It's not just the T of time, but it's, are you providing your people with the right tools, technology, tactics, techniques in the time they need so that they can be the very best they can? Because we all say that people are our number one asset, but a lot of times we don't treat them that way.
Dr. Mary, in a world obsessed with disruption, how do you help leaders distinguish between a genuine, sustainable competitive mode and what's just temporary tactical ads?
Many people right now are consumed with what is in the news, what's right in front of them, what they are surrounded by, and they're not looking big picture. I encourage my leaders to look big picture and long term. Is the crisis you're facing today going to end your business? Probably not. Is the thing that got you very emotionally excited or angered or frustrated today going to have a permanent place in your business? Probably not. So let's focus on the things you can control. You can't control politics. You can't control the weather. You can't control a lot of factors that impact your business. So you have to control the things that you can control. And that means you control your strategic planning. You can control your succession planning, who comes next in the organization. You control how well you help your leaders and your employees grow as being great employees, but also good community members, good people, really making that leadership development in all aspect of their lives. You control a lot of factors. So when we sit down sometimes and strategize, people complain usually about all the big things wrong in the world, and they can't control that anyway. So one of the exercises we do is we sit down and say, okay, in your organization today, what are things you can either control or influence? We make a list and then we focus on that.
Let's talk about the core process and difficult choices. The how. Strategic planning often involves saying no to a good opportunity to focus on the great ones. Can you walk us through a framework as a set questions you use to help make those painful but necessary trade off?
I ask people to start with what it is we do. Let's make it very clear. We make sweaters. Great. We make sweaters. That is our mission. That is what we do. Our vision is where we want to go. We make the greatest sweaters in the United States. We make the greatest sweaters in the Philippines. We make the greatest sweaters in Germany, whatever that is, for our demographic, for children between the ages of 10 and 16. Let's craft our vision as to where we want to go. Our vision has to be a little bit aspirational, a little bit inspirational, and maybe a little bit scary. But we also want to make it specific. We want to have a place to shoot for. And that's that big picture we want people to have. So once we have our vision, we know where we want to go. We know what it is we do with great clarity. We ask ourselves, what are we great at doing? Again, that's our SWOT analysis. And then instead of letting our budget drive where we want to go, we set out a plan as to if we had no constraints whatsoever, no budgetary restraints, no people constraints, no resource constraints, what would we do differently starting now? Now, we all have constraints. We all are bound by our resources, our time, all kinds of limiting factors. However, when you think about no constraints, it forces you to think outside your box, outside your boundaries, and think a little bit bigger. And that's where we find people oftentimes find those opportunities that are either right in front of them, the low hanging fruit, or they figure out a way to get some of those opportunities because they're seeing a plan to get there. So once we do the mission, the vision, and the opportunities, then we map out a series of sustainable goals. Many organizations, as you know, Daniel, they're just looking at the next quarter. They're just looking to make shareholders happy or their customers happy or their employees happy, but they don't really have a plan for the rest of the year or maybe 5 years or 10 years into the future. We look at the whole idea of where would we be if we were wildly successful? Where would we be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? And if we were wildly successful, what more could we do for our employees, for our customers, for our clients, for our communities? And that for a lot of people is very motivating. So we try not to let revenue drive the strategic planning. We try to let the strategic planning drive the goals that's going to generate the revenue.
Resource allocation is strategy in action. Dr. Kelly, where do you most often see the disconnect between a beautiful written strategic plan and where capital and talent actually get deployed?
Oh, you have hit the big challenge that business leaders are facing today. They start out the year with the best of intentions, the best strategic plan. They've got it mapped out, and then there will be an external shock. An
Mm.
external shock is something you can't control. Maybe it's a new tariff. Maybe it is one of your suppliers who suddenly decides they're going to go out of business or they're going to drastically raise their prices. Maybe it's your CFO decides they're going to take a job somewhere else. Some kind of external shock throws you off your game. So when we look at that, this is where we've got to have a plan for what happens if, the what if. Because when these external shocks come at us, sometimes as a business leader, you feel like you're just the target and people are just throwing things at you all day long. And your job is to try to be calm, make good decisions, and move everything forward, but it's really difficult. So what we have to do is we have to look at what are those other things that could derail us. And we have to be very honest about that. There's a pestle analysis that I like, and it focuses on what political things, regulatory issues, industry regulations might throw us off our game, what economic shocks might happen. Sometimes you might have a publicly traded company and one person on TikTok, one Instagram post that goes viral could all of a sudden cause your stock to drop and you didn't do anything wrong. That's what I mean by these external shocks. There could be a social issue. Right now in some US cities, people are protesting things. And if that's in front of your storefront, that can be very damaging, even though you had no part in that. So these are the types of things that oftentimes throw us off our game. So we have to have, as leaders, contingency plans for the what ifs. Now, you're not going to have a contingency plan for everything. I learned that in the military. We train leaders to try to figure out what happens when by running people through exercises so that you learn what to do in extreme situations, in difficult situations. Do we train for every single contingency? No, of course not. That's impossible. The idea is as a leader, you have to train your people as much as possible, give them as much development as you possibly can, so that when they are faced with that external shock that's going to throw them off their game, they are ready to move forward and they're going to make good decisions in the moment.
Dr. Mary, let's talk about insight generation. Beyond the standard market research, where have you found the most unexpected or valuable insights about competitive opportunities that competitors were missing?
I share this with my audiences all the time that my closest competitors in my business, and that is doing leadership and economic development and speaking at conferences. That's what I do. My closest competitors are also my closest collaborators. Make friends with your competition. And if we didn't learn this during COVID, we should have, because all of a sudden people couldn't get certain things they needed during COVID because supply chains fell apart. So we had suddenly competitors calling each other saying, "Hey, I know I'm your competitor across the street, but can you help me out? I need this." And it was beautiful when people got together and helped out their competitors. I tell people that your closest competitors are your closest collaborators. And that in and of itself gives you a competitive and a comparative advantage. And here's why. First, if somebody calls you and says, "Hey, I need this, I'm looking for this resource, I need help with this," and you can't provide that, how wonderful is it for you to tell your client, your customer, hey, I don't have this in stock, or I can't help you right now, but this is my competitor across the street or across town or across the country or across the world. They can help you. You are here to provide solutions for your clients and customers. So if you can't help them, giving them to somebody who can is huge. That's a win for them, and that should be a win for you. Number two, when you are collaborating with your closest competitors, it makes you better. All of a sudden, you have an idea of what they're doing, you get good ideas, you share resources, and you talk to them to find out what they're doing, what they're thinking, and you share in return. That makes you both better. And then number three, sometimes you find ways to work together, and let's face it, nobody else knows how hard your job is more than your competitors. They know. So wouldn't it be great if you could actually talk to them freely, honestly, and work together?
Definitely work together as a team. So, Dr. Mary, as a speaker, as a coach, as well as a podcast host, what are your short term and long term goals?
My short term goal is to develop my own podcast like yours because you're amazing and I love all the work you're doing. And I
Thank
love that
you.
you do the research ahead of time. So, my short term goal is to get my own podcast. My long term goal is to help, and my vision every day is to help leaders and managers at all levels be able to take the right step in the right direction at the right time with the right spirit to the right person every time. And that's my long-term goal.
Good luck to your goals, Dr. Mary, and hoping for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be a Dr. Commander Mary Kelly?
So the reason I have a couple doctoral degrees and a couple master's degrees is because I thought as a grown-up, you were supposed to have all the answers, and I just felt really dumb. So I just kept going to school. I just kept taking
Mhm.
graduate classes. Whenever I could, I would switch I would switch, I traded to get the night shift so I could take classes during the day. I just kept going to school because I think that when we stop learning, we stop becoming effective. Well, that's how it is for me anyway. So I love the lifelong learners. I love the people who are honest enough to raise their hand and say, I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to read something, listen to somebody. I'm going to find the answers and I'm going to get smarter.
Yes, well, thank you for that advice, Dr. Mary, to be smarter. I would love that. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
I love The Competent Leader by Peter Stark. It The Competent Leader doesn't sound like it's super inspirational. I don't love the title, The Competent Leader, but
Okay.
it is a fabulous book by Peter Stark. I also love a book called Thrive by Meredith Elliott Powell. That's how to take uncertainty and change and really do well with all the changes. And the latest one I love is called Integrity First Selling by Mark Hunter. And it just came out on Kindle. And it's a new and refreshing take on sales that I'm really enjoying right now.
Well, thank you for that recommended books. Dr. Mary, thank you, thank you, thank you. For an individual contributor listening, feeling far from a boardroom strategy session, how can they connect their daily work to a company's quest for competitive advantage, and why should they care?
So, companies need to care about this because other people are. And if you are not paying attention to the market forces, you're going to lose market share, and that is going to hurt your business long term. And we have resources for this on the website as well, and they're all free. We want people to do well. We want people to live their best life, grow their best business, and be the best leader they can be.
Be the best leader, and thank you for that. Dr. Mary, empowering leaders for our generation. So, generation to come is something else. So, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in sixth season, abstract poetry in third season, and of course, my book 101 review in sixth season as well. Comedy 101 third season, and my food 101 in sixth season too. Geography 101 love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 our fifth season, science 101, sex 101 in its fourth season, trivia 101, law 101, mental health 101, motivation 101, entrepreneurship 101, and of course, my Bible verses 101 are my baby podcasts. So please listen to them wherever you listen your podcasts. And Dr. Mary, I'm inviting you to be all my guest, all my podcasts, and let's empower people all over the world to be a great leader. What do you think?
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate you and the team.
You're most welcome. So, to close with the forward momentum, what is one simple but powerful action a leader listening right now could take this week to improve the quality and impact of their team's strategic conversations?
We only have a finite number of unknown minutes while we are on this planet. And so we have to take advantage of every single one of them. Every single minute is a gift. So use every minute wisely. Encourage someone, prop someone up, tell somebody they did a great job. Appreciate the people around you.
Yes, people appreciate people, give them value, because if they give them value, they strive more, and give their best to be the leader of our generation to come. So, Dr. Mary, can you please invite our listeners to support your upcoming podcast, your coaching, your speaking gig, and hoping for more success?
Thank you so much.
So where do people can reach you, Dr. Mary?
I'm at productiveleaders.com, and it's Mary at productiveleaders.com. I promise I will respond personally and individually to anything you send me.
Yes, people, let's support Dr. Mary Kelly, because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering leaders will rise. So I have one more question, Dr. Mary. If you could have to advise a founder with a hot new product but not clear strategic plan for defensibility, what would be the first three pieces of advice to move them from the future to a fortress?
So first, I believe in simplicity of thought brings clarity of action. So I would sit down with just a piece of paper, and I would map out what the idea was, who the target market would be, and then I would look at the how-tos and what would be easy, what would be hard. And I would do it on one piece of paper to bring that clarity into one place. And then once we get clarity, all of a sudden everything else will start to fall into place. But I try to get my best ideas have come up on cocktail napkins, yellow legal pads, the backs of envelopes, because when you have to put it in a small space, you get better clarity. I reviewed somebody's business plan one time that was 45 pages. I said, we have to stop. We need clarity. There's a lot here, but there's no clarity. Clarity of action will drive future actions.
And the clarity. And we'll have one more question.
Sure.
Mary, let's play with the metaphor. If a company's strategy is to ease its immune system, what are common viruses or autoimmune diseases that weaken it from within, making it vulnerable to external competition?
So some of the symptoms you're going to see if your company is sick, you're going to see people late to work. You're going to see people not showing up to work. You're going to see people late on projects. You're going to see an overall lack of productivity. All of a sudden, your customers are going to get silent, not because they don't care, it's because they're walking away. And they care, they're just hoping you recover. You're going to see some of your supply chain folks be less responsive. People aren't going to take your phone calls. All of a sudden, it's going to get very quiet, and you're going to walk around and you're going to ask people, how you doing? How are things? And they're going to say, good, great, fine. And I promise you, things are not good, great, or fine. Your organization is sick, and you need to fix the problem. You need to fix the sickness. And it starts with your people, and how you treat your own people is how they're going to treat your customers. So you have to treat your own people very well and make sure they've got the tools they need to do their jobs well so that they can treat your customers as well as possible.
Wow, Dr. Mary, thank you so much again for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. I hope you will be part of all my podcasts. Okay, and yes, definitely. Let's empower people all over the world through your knowledge and wisdom. So, Dr. Mary, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Daniel. It's such a pleasure. See you again soon.
What can people see you soon?